RPW here with the release, or relaunch I should say, of the Atlas Explorer series. And I have sat here and done a bunch of piratey like practice today, and I was going to give you guys something special with some piratey sounds, but I sound like an idiot, so not happening. Alright, let's jump on into Atlas as we go over. Now, I am basically going right back into the very beginning of the Atlas Explorer series that we began, I don't know, like 2 months ago. And the reason I'm doing that is because back when I started the Explorer series, I had no idea what I was doing. Like, I had no clue. There was a bunch of mistakes. Now, there was a lot I understood. There was a lot I didn't understand. And as I get, more and more involved in Atlas, I know a lot more. And I think I can bring you a much better video. So let's jump back into some things as refreshers, unless you're new to Atlas, of course. And the first thing is the regions of Atlas. Now, in every little area where you see, for example, over there's the blue, like oddly shaped property, there's a white shaped property, and so forth. These are what you call the Atlas regions, and each region will be labeled with these symbols here on the right-hand side. Now, of course, the top one, we will start there, is not an actual symbol on the map. I just thought I'd make it look pretty. But that is going to represent the no man's land, which is going to be your super dark regions. Know what those are. The next one down is going to be the little green one with the handshakes. This is your friendly zone, where you really need to know where those are. And then as you go down, you're going to see a level 2, a level 3, a level 4, and when you see a gold star, that will be a level 5. Now, this has nothing to do with the elements that are on there, which we will go on, over in a later video, but this will have to do with how valuable that land would be, because that's the type of castle that will be there. It'll either be a level 2 castle because it's on a level 2 land. On a level 3 land, you're going to have level 3 castles, and so forth. Now, you're going to find that the more valuable something is, the more resources you are going to need to hold it. So if you're a platinum team, don't be going after level 5 castles. Now, landmarks. This is another thing that you really need to understand. What are the different landmarks in each little region that we just went over? If you'll focus your attention to the right hand side of the screen, we got poachers at the top, middle is the mines, and the bottom would be castles. Now, poachers are going to be where, if you look down here on the screen to the left, they look like little dragons on game pieces. This is what you're going to attack in your region to be able to get not only a little bit of XP, but you're going to be able to get gold, as well as your elements that you will use to build your Primarch gear, your rider's gear. And then, of course, the middle thing there I said was mines. That's usually going to be found in the center of each region, where you can gain gold. And we'll go over how you can get some extra XP. And then as well, castles that you can attain if it's an attainable castle. But in order to do so, you're going to need a Primarch. Now, Primarchs are just like a chess pawn piece, and each will have their advantage and disadvantage. So before you choose one, you really need to know which one you will need. Now, the first thing you're going to get is a fighter, which once you reach level 5, you need to literally go click on the next Primarch you want and summon that thing. I was waiting for it to do it by itself. I felt like a silly girl once I realized, I had to do it myself. So once you reach your fighter to a level 5, you will actually have to go in, click train, and then go click one, let's say, your destroyer, your taunter, or your trapper, whatever it is you're wanting to hire next. You have to actually click on it and pay gold to actually summon it or train it or hire it, whatever, in place of that fighter. So don't expect it to do it automatically, because that will not happen. Now, once you unlock the ability to unlock your next Primarch, you're going to have to decide which one you want. So you're going to have to really understand the balance or the purpose behind each Primarch. Now, of course, your destroyer is going to be basically a higher level of a fighter. And then you're going to also have things like your trappers, your siegers, and your taunters. Now, if you're unsure what you would like to unlock, then be sure to check back in the coming weeks, because I'm going to be redoing this one as well. But you can go check out Understanding Primarchs in my previous Explorer series videos for Atlas and kind of get a better idea. However, there is a good trick to this. If you're low level, grab a trapper, because you're going to be able to take, big amounts of troops from people that attack your base, because this has nothing to do with your actual level necessarily. Sometimes it has something to do with, the level of your Primarchs. But again, we'll go over that in a later video. So just for now, maybe even ask someone you know for help in deciding. Now, the first thing is going to be your destroyer. Right to the right of that fighter, you are going to have the option to choose a destroyer. Now, the destroyer is going to be a balanced attack, which we'll go over more later. Your taunter is going to be something for defenses. This is something you want your highest levels on your team to have. And then, of course, there is your trapper. Your trapper is great for all levels so that you can have a great, large defense power. But mind you, it is defense, so you don't want to attack with it. Where, on the contrary, the Sieger is the slowest moving but has an awesome attack power, and you do not want to keep things like these on your castles if you own them. Now, speaking of castles, now I know this isn't a castle that's owned, this is in the free zone, but let's pretend for a moment that my castle is this castle. Please notice that right there it says home. If I go into my troops and I see right here, I've got some troops done, it's going to automatically go to your fighter. This is one of the most confusing things when you first start Atlas. Like, what do? One of the tricks is set your home at a different castle than your Primarch. Once you've done that, you can come through. I'll go ahead and speed something up, as you will see. It's now finished. Select, and it is transferred to my barracks instead. Now, what are these troops? Well, these are troops that you need to summon to give strength to your Primarchs. Now, in order to do so, you're going to need to know a few symbols, which is gold, farmers' hats, and troops. You're going to be able to see these a lot in here, so keep these in mind because you're going to need 1,000 gold and 10 farmers' hats for every troop you create. Now, farmers' hats, if you'll notice on the top with the arrow, is this little bar. This will refill automatically. You don't actually have to go collect these or anything of that nature. However, with gold, you will have to go collect those. You can either hit mines or you can hit poachers, and then in combination, you'll be able to set up your troop building. Now, of course, this is going to reset every few hours, and depending on whether you've got the elite or you've got your regular account, will depend on how often you're going to be able to replenish that amount of hats in comparison. Now, this is an outdated image because it has been updated. However, let's go ahead and talk about the poachers that I mentioned and the mines. Now, poachers, as I said before, are going to be these little, look like, to me, they kind of make me think of like game pieces on Monopoly boards, but they're like little dragons. Now, these poachers actually will have, if you'll see at the bottom, on the left-hand side, gold and elements. And then, of course, you must know that you cannot attack these things from another land. So if you're wanting to, for example, I want to come down here and grab myself some fire, I'm going to have to actually move my Primarch to that zone in order to hit poachers or mines in that area. So keep that in mind. Now, what does that mean? Yes, there are several different zones across all of the Atlas map where you're going to be able to find different types of elements. Now, be careful. That doesn't mean you should go onto an enemy's property and hunt these things. You're really going to want to look for the areas with the little green hands with a handshake. Now that you know how to, of course, collect gold, it's time to build up those troops. That is probably the most important thing you can do for your team in the first several weeks. And I do mean several weeks. I know a lot of people want to get in there, get their castle, but the reality of it is if you don't have the troops, then you're not going to be able to hold your castle back. So remember, build those troops. Now, once you have your gold and you actually have your bar filled up, if you'll see here, it says 8,000 of 8,000, I can go in and revive some troops, which is troops that you've already lost in an attack. And all you have to do in order to build or revive is slide this little slider back and forth on this, on this little bar here. Now, if you have trouble trying to get it where you want it, let's say you want to build a specific amount, you can actually go in and type in that amount and get it started. Now, you do have two options. You can, like I said, either revive or you can build new. So right here it says training troops. That is actually when you're building new. It will have a higher cost in total. Now, another confusion that I've come across is where people are like, look, I don't think I have any troops. I'm building them, I'm not seeing them. But what they're seeing is their Primarch is capped. In order to see all your other troops, you can go into a castle and look in the barracks. So if you have that problem, if you go in, you're like, yeah, but I'm building these troops, and every time I go to click transfer, it won't let me, and I know I'm building them, then you can go onto either one of your owned castles, or you can even go to like a free zone castle, and you can select it, click details, and go into the barracks. This way you can see how many troops. As you'll see up here on the top left hand side, that is where you'll see your number of troops. Of course, that will be in the barracks. So these troops that are in the barracks are not on your Primarchs, and they are safe when you're being attacked. Now let's talk about Elite membership in Atlas, which has changed since we last went over Elite. Now, the reason this is very important isn't because I think everybody should buy Atlas. I'm not at all marketing it, but you need to know, especially if you're just coming into Atlas, the first 7 days you have Atlas, you will get a free week of Atlas Elite. If you look at the image on the left-hand side, it's 151,000 gold versus the right side, where it is much more. So when you first join, you're going to start getting all this gold in your attacks, and once that elite goes away, it's going to be very difficult to find yourself that amount of gold. So this is the time to take advantage and build those troops as much as possible, especially considering not only are you going to get a bonus on your gold, but you're also going to get a much faster rate of regeneration on, of course, your hats. Now, speaking of gold, don't hoard it, because anybody who attacks you that has Atlas, you will have 0 protection against. So the best thing to do is understand the castle infrastructure. The reason is because if you are on a team that has a castle, this is where you want to put that spare gold. Now, the reason is because, number one, like I said, you're not going to have any protection when you are hit by another Atlas player. And I don't mean within Atlas. I'm talking outside of Atlas, regular stuff. And you're not going to see it until you look at your gold bar in Atlas. So whenever you're done, jump in, click the bank, and then of course on the bottom right hand side you'll see send resources to this bank, and then you're going to use a little sliding bar to donate gold or even other resources like lumber and food. Even if your team is of course even taxing you, that extra little bit of gold is going to be able to help you level up your bank. And that is actually a big importance, not only for your team but for you later in Atlas, because one of the key facts about banking is the higher your levels of banks will determine, of course, your storage capacity and, of course, how much you're going to get when it comes to your bonus loot. Now, one of the things that used to happen with banking is it would be, of course, specified per castle. But in this last update, they did bring in what they call centralized banking, which means you're going to be able to access any castles you might own. Each bank within each castle will be merged into one, and you will see it from any of the castles you choose to see it at. Now, only bankers and officers and governors will be able to actually send them, but that is where you will see all the stuff going on, like, you know, who's donating what in the ledger. Now, just like whenever you donate to a friend in the team, you're going to be able to do up to 3 different transfers that take 20 minutes to go in. Now, there are some things on here that, of course, are not what they used to be. For example, if there was someone sitting on your castle, it would actually prevent, you know, the transfers from going through, but that is no longer the case. So let's go ahead and jump into the next one, which is the headquarters tile. The only reason I'm bringing this into play is because if you do get a castle, you need to understand, in order to take up your bank, you also have to take your headquarters. It's literally like a one-on-one upgrade. Once you get your, your headquarters and your bank built, you need to immediately build your fort. So if you're new and you just get a castle, your team needs to build that fort. And the reason is because if you have a 0 level fort, you're not going to get a shield, and I don't think you can even hire, I don't know if it's true, but I don't know that you can even hire castle guards. So that should be one of the first things. However, the fort actually comes in even handier as it gets larger, which is another reason you want to, of course, upgrade. Now, on a level 3, the marshal that you might have, in your appointed in the fort is not going to really be super important unless it's at least a level 4. And that's because it does not count on the lower level forts or lower level castles unless they one day change that. So keep that in mind whenever you do this. So those are the most important things I think a team and players need to know outside of what you call glory hunting, which is the next thing I want to go over. We did go over that in a past video, but I think I went a little too detailed because I really didn't know what was considered important and what wasn't. So after receiving quite a bit of rewards in the last glory hunting season, I feel a little bit more confident to teach it. So be sure to check back on that. I think that will be our next video. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the first part of the relaunch of the Atlas Explorer series. I could not believe this music when I found it today, and of course I went and found somebody who did a cover on it so that I could give them a shout out here on my YouTube. So of course I want to say thank you, Stammering. It's your music channel. You have some amazing covers, and you've made me fall in love with a whole new style I didn't even know existed. This song is probably something I'll be jamming to all week. It is, and I don't want to pronounce it wrong, but it is Relaunch, the Queen of Pirates, and it is a cover done originally by The Miracle of Sound. But I'm telling you, the way he works the guitar, I was just like, this is beautiful. So show your love, go check out his channel, see if there's anything that you like, and then don't forget to give him a thumbs up on his video. Until next time, see y'all later. RPW signing out.